Hello, guys. Welcome back to Murder in Retrograde, our YouTube channel. We're so
Woo,
excited
woo,
to
woo,
be
woo.
here. So today we are diving into the case as much as we can because it's very new and there's not a ton of information out there. But it's important. It's freaking interesting as all hell. So we're gonna be talking to you guys about Alexis Sharkey today. Brittany, you
Yes.
have sent me down the rabbit hole with this case because you're the one that's like this Instagram model and you're telling me about it. I had no idea. So I'm excited.
That's that's one of my favorite parts of true crime is like jumping on the story right when it happens and trying to figure out, when there's no information out there. And when I first heard it, it was just like, wait, what? This doesn't make any sense. She was with her friends. It was right around, was it Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving, yeah.
Thanksgiving, and then her husband seemed weird, but I don't have as much information as you have because you've been deep diving without me.
Yeah. So before we like dive in, I do want to say, and we've kind of talked about this before with especially like the Delphi case, but we do not condone, talking badly about people online in terms of like bullying or their families or any of that stuff. Like we all can have our opinions about if someone looks suspicious or whatever, but I've seen, unfortunately, especially with this case, because some of her friends are a little cray cray, but
Mhm.
that's one thing to say that maybe you feel that way versus attacking their family, attacking them. Like we do not condone that. We are here to give you the news essentially, but let's just all be
Yeah,
respectful.
if you've never heard, it's called doxing. If you're like
Oh,
outing somebody, if you're saying something about them and accusing somebody of committing a crime, I think this person did it. And while you might think you're helping, you're destroying somebody's life
yeah.
potentially who had nothing to do with this. And even victims of a crime, like you don't sign up for this. Like your whole life is infiltrated and everything is splashed on the TV. So, absolutely, we always want to be respectful. And while we want to know what the story is, there's no need to drag somebody's name through the mud.
Right. So let's kind of dive in. If you know more about her as like a person, I feel like, do you want to just kind of give us a little synopsis of like who she is?
Sure.
This, okay.
So, Alexis Sharkey was born on February 6th, 1994. So she was 26 and she was from Pennsylvania originally. But right at the start of the pandemic, she and her husband decided to move to Texas. And obviously, that's a huge move going from Pennsylvania to Texas. And I don't think she had anybody there. So she made a lot of friends getting into an MLM called
Well,
Monat.
actually, do you want to know how she made these friends? I thought it was MLM
How?
also. I've never even knew this was a thing. So they all became friends on Bumble BFF. So it's like a
What?
social media platform for finding friends. Instead of like Bumble to like
Awesome.
hook up, it's Bumble BFF. So
That's kind of amazing because, obviously she's 10 years younger than me. When I started having kids, it was so hard to meet people. And my sister was like, it's just like dating. You just have like a pickup line. You're like, oh, do you like that stroller? Whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, it really truly is.
it really
But
is.
that's a great idea.
I could never do it because I'm so introverted and shy, but I think it's
Yeah.
amazing for people who are
Are
especially
moving.
moving to a new area and you want to like find like a group of people to hang out with. So, anyways, not to cut you off, but that is what I literally just found out because I was like, how I don't understand how this all happened because as we know, like yes, when you are involved in multi-level marketing, you do tend to connect with people because you're all
Sure.
kind of trying to achieve the same goal and blah blah blah. But I feel like it's harder to make actual connections with some of these people because if this MLM wasn't involved, would you necessarily be friends? I
Yeah.
don't know. So anyway,
That's the big thing with it because obviously both of us are involved with one. And there's so many different types of people in MLMs. Like
yeah,
you and I don't really talk about it a lot. We're not preaching to people and really hard selling. And we have both known of people that who just burn bridges, right? Like
yeah,
everybody and then don't follow up, don't treat you kindly. And you just feel like it's a sales pitch every time
yeah.
you go to a play date or something like that. And So there's so many different types of women, men that get into MLMs, and it sucks that everybody gets thrown in the same pit because it's
Yeah.
not like that anymore. It used to be like it was only Amway or it was only
Yeah.
Mary Kay, but now there's so many things, and our generation wants to be healthy, so essential oils, natural products. But anyway, you don't truly know if they are your friend or if you are colleagues. It's that kind of
Yeah.
thing. It's a
It's a
coworker
weird,
friend.
yeah,
That's what it's
exactly what
like.
it is. Totally. Yeah.
So, I mean, just to back up a bit, she's a very smart girl. She
Mhm.
graduated from the University of Pittsburgh, studied biology, and she wanted to become a doctor eventually. She continued her education at St. Bonaventure University, and after graduation, she started mentoring at Monat. So, driven, obviously stunning. Everybody
So
seems to
pretty.
say wonderful things about her. She seemed very artistic and creative. Um, but then she moves to Texas, and that's kind of where Jenna will jump in.
Yeah. So, okay. So basically, we're kind of just jumping right into it because there's not a whole lot of information about like her life
Her
per
background,
se.
yeah.
Yeah. Because it's not really out there yet. And it seems like the family's keeping things close to the vest. And we'll talk about it a little bit later how other people in her life, not so much. But
But
so,
just really quick, I want to say there actually is a lot about her personally, but you and I don't like to put that stuff out there because there's no way to see if it's
verify it.
factual or not,
Yeah.
there's no way to verify it. And it's speculation, it's word of mouth, it's what other people think. So there's no need to really say what other people have said until the family comes out and we get more information from people who actually knew her.
Right. Supposedly. So there's a lot of speculation of like what her husband Tom has said happened versus like police really haven't said anything that I can find that's happened about her like last known whereabouts. But I feel like I should maybe talk about her friend first because it's like there's so many layers of this case. It's like crazy. But let's just go. I'll work backwards, I guess. So they a sanitation worker, right, found her. You actually know about this part more than I do. I feel like,
Yeah,
sorry, I'm
he
all
was
over
just
the
a
place.
That's okay. He was just a regular sanitation worker with like the Houston metro area, and he was doing his regular route down kind of it's a very seems very rural to me when I looked on Google Maps, and he's just going straight down and you take a turn and the houses are very set back, and he saw 2 feet sticking out of the bushes. And he thought it's a mannequin. And then he started getting closer to it and he freaked out and thought, I don't know what that is. I don't want to go near it. So he called his boss. And
Yeah.
his boss is like, don't do anything. I'll be right there. So the boss comes over immediately and sees that it's clearly a dead woman. She didn't have any signs of injury or anything like that, but she was totally nude. And I believe, was she wet or not?
So he said, so being in sanitation, I think is part of the interesting tidbit here because he said something along the lines of that she looked clean or cleaned up or like,
He said something like she had looked like she had just been bathed and had been placed there carefully, which
yeah.
was very interesting, a very
And
specific thing to say.
there's images online of like where this is, and on both sides of the street, there's trees, but yet she wasn't backed up into the tree. She was
No,
literally on the side of the road, like
some
someone wants her
wanted
to
her
be
to be
found.
found.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if someone was trying to hide her, they didn't do a good job. Do you know what I mean? So it looked like he said that she was placed versus maybe, I don't know, tossed out of something.
Right, and that's another weird thing because she's in the bushes and it there doesn't look like there's a lot of mud, but there's tall grass and clearly there is dirt, and it rained the day before and the day she was found,
Yeah.
and she didn't have any mud on her. He said she looked like she had just been bathed and was just cleaned. So that doesn't make sense. If a body is there, it's going to get splashed on, things will fall on it after the rain.
Right. And the thing that you had said earlier that I just wanted to like note on too that and I don't know if the police had said it or if it was just him from seeing it, but there's no visible injuries they could
Right.
see. So right off the bat, if someone's, we know from true crime, if someone's been choked or something, you're gonna have red marks around your throat, or if there was nothing that anyone saw that could say this is what she died from.
Even
So,
if you're smothered, you have broken blood vessels,
right,
you have
like around,
swelling in the face. There's ways to tell. And they said there were no visible signs of injury whatsoever.
which is
First thing
important.
I thought was drugs. What
So
did you think?
so yes, so I want to get to that. Let's just talk about her husband really quick. So
Okay.
she married Tom Sharkey about a year ago. They married on December 20th, 2019. So very newly married. I think they
Oof.
were together
A
a
week
couple
before the
years.
pandemic?
Well, yeah. And then I think they were together a couple years before that. He's been married two other times before Alexis. And this is important because I'm going to say right now, I don't think that he was involved personally from what's been put out there, and I'll get to why. But a part of his like character. So in one of the divorce proceedings with one of his ex-wives, his mom, who he's estranged from, had been quoted saying that she thought he might be bipolar. He was a pathological liar and he was suspected of abusing steroids. And if you look at him, I
He's
think it's a
huge.
pretty safe bet. And as we know, and we saw it with like Kaylee Mandotti, when you are abusing steroids, that's a real thing called I can't even talk.
Roid rage. Oh my gosh. And where we went to high school, I don't know if it was as much at your high school, but it was off the charts. And friends of mine who were just really sweet, kind guys started doing it and started getting so violent. A lot of them went to prison, just like fights all the time. And these were people that I knew since I was a child, and I knew that what their personality was. And this was
Right.
a different person. So that is a real thing.
Yeah. So listen, that doesn't bode well for him, knowing, that he's got a dead
Yeah.
wife on his hands. So this is where it gets muddy because so we're gonna, like I said, I'm gonna get into her friends' issues in a little bit, but just so that we know kind of what they're putting out there.
And
Um,
are these friends from
these are the
Monat?
Bumble BFF friends.
Bumble BFFs.
Okay, so it's this woman, Tanya, who we're gonna get to because she is fascinating. And she said there's a total, including Alexis, 8 of them, which
Okay.
already there's that
That's a
brings
lot for
okay.
women
Yep,
to,
yep, yep. Okay.
yeah,
So
that's too
right.
much. It's 2 or 3 at the most, and then you're going downhill.
Yep. So this is what they had to say. So everything's coming out and they're immediately pointing the finger at Tom. They said um that the couple was supposedly going through a divorce and that Tom was physically and emotionally abusive towards her. This is what the friends are saying. There's no records that I can
No.
find of any of it, actually. No alleged,
Separation,
no,
911 calls,
nothing.
nothing.
So they all had taken this trip to Mexico, and her friends quoted saying that when they went to this trip, they were saying she confided in them, saying Tom had been putting his hands on her. Um, he was sending her really awful text messages, and one night they were talking alone, and Alexis supposedly said, "He strangles me and chokes me out, and I black out and wake up on the bathroom floor every single time." And that he was controlling and manipulative. So this is what the friends are saying right off the bat about him.
Just out of curiosity, and obviously this is all alleged. We have no proof of this. This is just what they said. Tom hasn't really come out and spoken too much, but there's no proof of this. What about like I couldn't even find 911 calls or anything.
Again, so I almost wonder if we're not seeing anything because there is an active investigation, very active. I mean, this is
Yeah,
only a month and a half
could be.
old or 2 months old. So we haven't been told of anything. I mean, there's also speculation that they have a ring camera at their apartment, which would, give us
That's
some
what I'm
clues
thinking.
too. So there's things I think that the police are keeping under wraps.
Can I go on a little tangent of what
Yeah,
I think happened
please.
really quick? That completely alleged. I think for sure they had a ring. They were young, and we both have one. I don't know anybody that doesn't have one just for safety um and for packages and things like that. So they must know where he was. I'm
Yeah,
assuming the cops know that he was there. Otherwise, they would have brought him in by now because they're giving
exactly.
him way too much time to clean up and all of that stuff. And then the fact that they didn't release a cause of death makes me think that they're waiting for toxicology results to see what drugs she was on. And I don't know. I mean, the whole story of being choked, like, we don't know if that's true. We don't know if they had some sort of different sex life. It's none of our business.
Yeah.
Like that, I don't know that we can even like, and these women got out there quick to
Oh,
let these
yes.
stories out.
Oh, yes, and I'm gonna tell you what I think about these ladies
Okay,
and
go
all the things,
ahead.
but I just wanna quote him really quick. So, this is all coming out, people are immediately pointing the finger at him, and he did quote I'm gonna quote him a few times here. So he said, quote, "She wasn't happy, she was stressed, I would cuddle her to try to make her strong, she was an amazing woman. Sir, my wife was an amazing woman, she really was. There always is other sides to everything. I was the one holding her up and building her back up. I don't need to set the record straight. I'll let it play out the way it is. I know what my life was with my wife." Um,
And he put that out after people hounding him, like, "The husband did it, the husband did it." It started right off the bat, and he wasn't saying anything, and I think he was probably listening to attorneys and
and
talking to
also,
police.
I thought an interesting thing that got brought up was it's also generational. He's like 10 years older than her or
10
something, or
plus years
20,
older, yeah.
and her generation and then her 20s, yeah, of course, they're all going to social media and it's all, all this stuff. And he's older, and that's not necessarily
And
what the
that's
gut
true.
reaction is going to be, is to go to social media, whatever. So then he also said this. He said, "Well, some of you were posting on social media, helping us locate my world. Others were wasting time talking about other things. Basically, crap talk. You all should be ashamed of yourself. I have been assisting the deputies in making phone calls to find out what happened to my wife. Next time, stop and think and realize you don't know it all." So he had posted that on Facebook.
To me, obviously no idea, but it felt authentic and like, look, I'm doing what I can. I'm not a perfect person because he didn't come out there and defend himself. It didn't
Right.
sound narcissistic and
Right.
self-serving. It was just like, I'm not perfect. You don't know everything. Let's just try to find her instead of just immediately tar and feathering every person involved. It's like work together. Even the
Mhm.
mom said she had not heard anything about any marital issues.
The only thing she does say that I don't like, that makes me feel weird a little bit, and I've looked at several news articles that all kind of say the same thing. He's not quoted, but they all say he called the mom the next morning and said Alexis is missing. I don't know that that would be the terminology. I don't know. Like, I feel like I'd call and be like, "Hey, have you heard from Alexis? She went out last night. I haven't seen it." Like, do you know what I mean? I just that
Oh, see, I can say seeing missing,
okay. Like, for me, it just
like, because I would be
sounded,
panicking, and
yeah,
then what else would you say? Like, they're gone? They
I don't
or
know.
you I don't know. Yeah.
So that was whatever. But yeah, and kind of on that mom note, she says, after this all comes out, that she says, "I do believe she was murdered. Yes, from what I've been able to gather, as well as a mother's gut. I learned very young as a mom to trust my gut. It's not let me down." But
Mm.
I think you and I are going to be on the same page of what we think happened. But let me get into this friend, Tanya. So her name is Tanya Ricardo. She's like the head, I would say she's like the Regina George of this like Bumble BFF group. Okay.
Okay.
So when I started researching her, because this is when you had said, you had heard that all of her friends were kind of immediately going out there, and they all are in this like social media world. So I will say though, her social media platform is now private, so like you can't see, and I'm sure she did that because she's getting a lot of heat. But when I Googled her, an Inside Edition episode came up about her. She apparently went on one of these shows and had 8 surgeries done at once to look like Meghan Markle.
What?
So
What do you mean, like the swan? What is
it
the
was something like,
show?
I don't know. So I found clips from Inside Edition. So I don't know if they were doing like a plastic surgery special or if they were just showing footage from another show,
How
but it
many
was like
surgeries?
8 at once. She had like a
Oh my
Brazilian butt
god.
lift, a boob job, like tons of stuff to her face done. Like She was skinny and
Wow.
she had like liposuction. I mean, they did the whole thing. And then they
Mm.
had like the reveal with the friends. It was wild. I was just like, oh, okay.
Wow.
So I feel like that is just showing you a little bit about this person's character and how ego driven they are.
Yeah.
I just,
And then Alexis was very naturally beautiful.
well, we
Yeah.
don't know that. She's very pretty, but we don't know how natural.
That's true. You can't say that anymore. Duh. I'm from
Uh,
California.
so, so I thought that was weird. I mean,
Yeah.
attention seeking is, I guess, what comes to mind. So
Yeah,
then,
there's we have no problem with people fixing something that they're not happy with. But if you're going in for 9 surgeries, you needed a therapy appointment
yes,
first.
100%. So
Wow.
then so she goes and does this like interview. She's like sitting in a car. I don't really know who the interview is with. I was trying to figure out, but it's all over YouTube. But she this is where I think is so weird. So right off the bat, she's very vocal, right? Which is fine. I mean, if you went missing, I would be vocal maybe in different ways, but I'm gonna be getting people riled up to look for my friend.
Mhm.
But the thing was, so there was Thanksgiving's Thursday, and then there's Black Friday and the weekend, whatever. So she was with Tanya on Thursday for dinner. And then Friday, they were texting around like 6 o'clock. And then Tanya texted their like gal group text message of all the Bumble BFFs with Alexis on there. She said, hey, because they were doing like a movie night because it was supposed to be raining. You're like, hey, who's coming over tonight? Or what time's everybody coming over or whatever. And she said, Alexis didn't immediately respond. I just knew something was wrong. And it's like,
Hmm?
how? I'm sorry. It's called sleeping in. It's called maybe I got in a fight with my husband. It's called I went grocery shopping. It's called I don't want to talk to you right now. I don't know, but that is
Yeah, like
not where I would
we
be.
both have friends that are like the immediate text backers, but not every single time. Like if they didn't text back the first time, I'd be like, oh, they must be in a movie watching, well, not anymore in the coronavirus, but there's a million things to do as a mom or as a wife. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would never think like there's something wrong.
Yeah.
That's
So I just thought it
weird.
was so weird that that was her initial reaction was like, something happened. I didn't talk to her since 6 o'clock. And then she goes on to say, once they saw that she hadn't been active on social media for 12 hours, then that was also concerning, which to me, I feel like that would have been because she is an influencer. I feel like that would have been the first sign, maybe, of been like, okay, this is weird. She hasn't been online for half a day when she's an influencer. Like
Plus
maybe,
it's Black Friday. It's the
yeah.
biggest shopping day of the year. Didn't she have like
Oh,
deals?
I'm sure. But that
Yeah.
to me is a legitimate, like, okay, where's our friend? Like,
That
let me pause right here and just show you this whiteboard that Tanya put out herself about the timeline from Thursday to Friday evening. As you can see here, she's broken it up by day and by time of what she says happened.
right away, fine. I do stalk you. I would like see like when did she go on Instagram? And if it's like 2 hours, I'm like, oh, she's busy. But if it was like 12 hours, I'd be like, she's missing. So there are ways to know down the line, but not just from a text.
Yeah, I just thought it was so weird. And then she's like, okay, so I haven't gotten access yet. I'm like still pending on some of these like groups because I want to see, but there's a lot of screenshots um people have pulled into Reddit of her. Like for like I don't know what the purpose of this would be, but she like has screenshots of like their I think it's called like gal group, like text message thread. And it's like, what are you guys doing today? Oh, I'm just getting my nails done. And then Tanya at the bottom is like, can someone take me to get my take me to give my rental car back? And I'm like, when did you have a rental car? Why are you showing us this? Like, what is the point of this screenshot with Tanya talking about a rental car? And is that the weekend when this is all happening? Because
You can't see the time stamp on the text.
I don't remember seeing a time. I mean, I can pull it up, but
You would know. You would have
I
seen
don't
it.
remember.
That's well, yeah. Why did she ever say why she had a rental car?
There's just a screen grab of it on Reddit, and then people are like talking about it, and I haven't been able to like see what's going on, and so it's just she's been just doing weird shit. So I guess her and her little minions, as everyone's calling them, or the BFF Bumble friends, are all making these accounts allegedly into Reddit to like talk to the people on there and like tell them to stop talking about it. Like they're
Wow.
just responding to everything. And I
And
just want
that's
to
what you would do
show
if
them
you were guilty. I mean, that
exactly.
doesn't that
It
doesn't
does
look
not
good.
look it is not a good look. Like,
And do they
shut
think they're
your
smarter than the cops? The cops immediately took all their phone records, I'm sure. They can see everything they're doing online. Like to me, when cops are not arresting anybody, they're
they're
letting the people
they're
dig
yep.
their own grave.
Yes.
So,
Yes. So she also, so this is kind of leading into like what I and probably you and I will probably on the same page of like what happened, but she also has these screenshots or they're either screen grabs of text messages or they were like screenshots of Facebook or something of their conversations. And because she's responding to everything, she
yeah.
just can't shut her flippin' mouth. And she's talking about how Alexis was known to dabble in party drugs. Specifically, she was microdosing mushrooms. So I guess to she says, and I've never heard this before, and I find it to be fascinating. I would be too scared to even attempt it, but she was saying that Alexis used allegedly used mushrooms to microdose for things like anxiety, depression, and
Yeah.
you do it so you're not like euphoric, but you're bringing, I
I
guess,
know all about it.
okay.
I've been researching it. It's getting incredibly popular. It's DMT is what's or psilocybin is what is in magic mushrooms. And if you just take a microdose, like a microdose of weed, like one
Yeah,
milligram edible or something like that,
right.
you don't feel anything. But they are finding that with continued use. Whitney Cummings, the comedian, is on it. She's
Oh,
gotten off, she was on like 4 antidepressants. She's had major depression and anxiety, and she's cured herself. And there's also been
amazing.
some major athletes that have cured themselves from CTE. So I've been researching it because I've had multiple concussions, CTE, chronic traumatic brain injury.
Got it.
So there's like really promising stuff. And that makes me think that she was that's not like I'm sure some people would hear that don't know about mental health and would think like,
Yeah.
oh, she's a drug addict, but it's actually a very and it's funny she did it in Texas. It's popular there. Joe Rogan talks about it all the time and he lives there now. But it's like the next up and coming thing and it's much healthier for your body to not have those
Right.
chemicals from the antidepressants. It's natural. It comes from the earth. And yeah, you don't feel anything. It relieves her anxiety and depression. And that makes sense to me because her husband said she was having a hard time and probably from moving away from her
Yeah.
mom, who it seems she was extremely close to.
Yeah. I mean, not to sound totally naive, but where do you get I mean, do you just buy it illegally and then microdose it yourself? Because it's not legal right now, right? Or is it something, is there a type of doctor like prescription like weed used to be where you could get some sort of like,
I haven't gotten that far. It's not illegal. It's not illegal. Psilocybin is not illegal in like those small doses, and it's always overseen by a physician. But I don't know what kind. I wonder if it's a naturopath or I'm
I
not
mean,
sure. But I mean, it's being studied at Harvard and Yale, and it's legit. Like it
and she
actually
was smart. I
works.
mean, as we talked about, she went to
Oops.
college and studied what biology and stuff, right? So I feel
Yeah,
like
she
she
wanted to
would
be a
have
doctor.
her thumb on the pulse. The only thing that worries me in this situation is it has been talked about on, I think, Facebook that her husband was taking mushrooms like recreationally, like in higher doses and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's not
Um,
good.
so I don't know. Maybe does she do it that way too? Who knows? Because also he's saying what had happened that night is that she walked out of the house and he was saying to her, "You're not driving under the influence." And he never said what the influence was. And a lot of people are alleging that she was on drugs of some sort, whether, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
maybe she was party drugs. I mean, there's a lot of talk online too that, I mean, I'm not going to say, but well, Tanya is being they're saying things about her and her drug use also. And it's party recreational things. I mean, I wouldn't do, but people do.
They're in
And
their 20s. Yeah.
totally. So it sounds like she was fucked up on something and she walked out the door, and then that's when it gets muddy because people are saying, but I've never seen a quote from him saying, and so maybe this is all hearsay that he saw her get into a black car and nobody knows whose car that is, and then she was like never seen from again. And then there's all these weird inconsistencies. So there's this other DJ friend his name's Sebastian, but they call him Seb. And he was being like looked at by, online groups and stuff too. And because he had text message with Alexis, I think Friday, Friday night, and then didn't hear back from her. And he also was saying it was weird, or like because they were constantly texting and blah blah blah. Then Tanya comes out to try and defend him and says he was working from 6 to 10. He couldn't have done it. And then everybody's like, well, how do you know it happened before 10 o'clock? Like,
Yeah.
so it's like shit like that she's saying. That's like, she's defending this person. He couldn't have done it. But do you know something that we don't know? Like, how is he in the clear if he's from 6 to 10? Do you know that something happened during, like, I
That's
cannot
what makes me
wait.
think the cops know she's gonna spill. She's just gonna make a mistake.
I don't know that she personally did anything. I think she knows a lot more than she's
Oh
letting
yeah.
on. My theory, and it's all just me assuming and making assumptions and all this stuff, but
Yeah.
I think what had happened is she went out to like a house party or something, because we haven't heard any sightings of like in a bar. And that's the other thing. Tanya's like, she would never go to a bar in a sweatshirt and sweatpants. And it's more like, well, she was in a cute crop top and sweatpants, which is like kind of the vibe right now anyway.
Right.
So I'm influencer or not, she might have. But the theories kind of seems like she went to a house party, was doing something to make her inebriated. And I think there was an accidental overdose. And I think people freaked out, didn't know what to do. I find that we see this in movies where, like, if people are wasted in some way, that they get thrown in a shower. I feel like that could be a reason why she's naked and has nothing on her. And maybe also people are like, I don't want my DNA on it, whatever. I don't know if people are that smart in that kind of situation, but I think it's a kind of
Yeah.
freak out thing. And I did learn that there is no good Samaritan laws in Texas. And I don't know, again, if you're like messed up like that, if you're going to know that or even think of that. But
Yeah.
meaning that if you, say our friend's dying or ODing or whatever, you could be held responsible.
Hmm.
And then the Good Samaritan law, I think, is something along the lines of, if you, as long as you get help for these people, then
Yeah.
you won't be. But, and then I think that her body was found 8 miles from her house.
No, 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 no. It was less than a mile. I think it was like 800 feet. You pull out of her driveway and you go straight for like a mile, and then you turn in, and that's where her body was.
So that's confusing, because in the interview I saw, her friend Tanya says it was 3 minutes away. And then the interviewer, whoever it was, said it was 8 miles. So whatever, it was not far. It was less than 5 minutes from her house, regardless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's still very close. And she was placed on the side. I do think it was accidental in one way or the other, and people just dumped her. But I think Tanya either knows who she was with, and that's why she's like freaking out, because she can be connected somehow, or they call her in a panic. Something's happening to Alexis. What do we do? She knows something.
Yeah. And I think it's got to be in their phone
Oh,
records.
100%. And I'm sure that's what police are doing, are combing through all their shit.
It's going
That
to take a
takes
long
time.
time with chicks that are on social media.
I was just gonna say, it's gonna take a long time, because there's, Instagram, and I guess they all DM'd a lot too. So they have to go through all their Instagrams. They have to get probably approval first, and then they have to go through the messages, and then they have to get their computers and their phones and all this stuff. And it is crazy.
Yeah. It's a wild story
Oh,
that. Go ahead.
sorry, there's one more thing I saw. I don't know how truthful this is, but a lot of people were saying it, and I can't. So Alexis has two sisters. Apparently, one of them did some sort of TikTok, and in the very beginning of the TikTok mentions an overdose, and then she quickly removed it. So people are theorizing that she was told, probably by police, they are suspecting an overdose of some sort.
Yeah.
She opened her mouth and then was like, oh shit, and pulled it, because she maybe either was told to take it down or realized she probably shouldn't put that out there, or whatever the case is.
I didn't realize she had sisters. Are they
Just
older?
two. I don't know how old they are. Again, it's really hard to find information about everybody because it's
Yeah.
still so new. But I do know she has two sisters.
Okay. Yeah, because this happened the day after Thanksgiving. So November 27th is when she went missing, and then she was found dead on the 28th. So yeah, this just happened.
And it just seems like it happened so quick. I mean, it did happen so quickly. Like, something happened that night. And then I cannot wait until the autopsy is released. Oh, that was the other thing. Someone said they had found a screenshot. I couldn't find it to save my life of the death certificate, and the cause of death was blank, which means they're waiting on talks.
Yeah.
100%. So
Yeah.
it's going to be eye-opening to see what comes back.
Definitely. And we will be following this like an eagle or hawk. And we'll bring you all of the information that we find because we are obsessed with this case.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of on a separate note, because I know that we like to point people in a direction to help, but like the Good Samaritan
Yeah.
thing is like really bothers me. I feel like every state should have that, and if you're, as long as you're seeking help for someone, I feel like that you shouldn't be culpable in a sense if they on their own accord took drugs and got put themselves in a situation. I don't know. I feel like
I mean, even if you are not a good person and that you've put somebody in that position, yes, there should be a law so that you can at least hope to save that person's life,
Yeah. So that's troublesome. I'm trying to make sure I told you. I feel like there's so many layers to this, and I just couldn't stop reading. This friend, Tanya, is like blowing my mind. And it makes me sad because she's a mom. I didn't realize. And it's like, you have kids or a kid. Like,
Yeah.
get off social media. Stop talking. Like, as we've always said, and I think every true crime, but don't talk. Get a lawyer. Shut the fuck up.
Yes, seriously, which it sounds like that's what the husband did.
Yeah. I mean, I
because
don't know if he got a lawyer. I'm sure he did. But if not, like, he's doing the right thing by just being quiet and being, it sounds
letting the
like
cops do their
helpful.
job. Yeah.
Well, Tanya seems to be wanting to do their job for them, with them. I think I think she's a narcissist, and I think she just wants to be Meghan Markle in front of the cameras.
Clearly. I mean, if you're going for that, there's something going on deeper.
Yeah, it's wild. So we're definitely going to keep our eyes on this, and if anyone has any other information too, like, tell us. I mean,
Yes.
let
If
us
you
know.
can find those screenshots, if you can find anything, send it to us. murderandretrograde.
I'm getting into
gmail.com.
Yeah, and I'm getting into these Facebook groups, so maybe I'll be able to access them sooner than later also, because it's just, it is crazy to me that she's just all over Facebook, all over Instagram, all over Reddit, like creating these accounts and then going after them and then deleting them. Like, allegedly.
Yeah. Wow. That's a full-time job.
For real. That's what I'm saying. Get off and go be a parent. Like,
Yeah. Says the two of us who are up all night researching true crime.
well, my child was at grandma's house, and my other child doesn't
Oh,
even
lucky
get babysit. So
you.
that's why I've been like, huh?
Oh, that makes sense. That totally makes sense.
I'm not
All right.
like
Well,
you.
this
I
is a
can't.
good one.
Yes, it's so interesting.
Yes.
Google, but just be nice. Like, listen, Tanya sounds like she's off her rocker, but like, no one needs to go attack her. Let the police
Yeah. Everyone
do their job.
reacts differently in these situations. Who knows? It could be nobody knows what happened yet. And let's just wait and see what the cops say. And
as soon as that toxicology report comes back, I'm sure we'll do like another little episode just to keep you guys updated, because that's going to be when I think things are going to start moving quickly.
yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Okay.
See you next time.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.